we love us some Omaha Blue
Mhm.
at No Ceilings, right? Like this kid really made an impression on us when we all saw him at the Nike Hoop Summit. Grown ass man already, right? Our friend of the show, Bryce Simon, wrote an awesome feature on Omaha uh, earlier in the year. I mean, this was a kid that when we were at the Hoop Summit, he was always getting up shots, always locked in. After the second scrimmage, was it
Yeah,
this? It was the
second.
second scrimmage, right? He was just on the court getting jumpers up, like an hour after the game.
Yep.
Just working on his craft, right? He knows what he has to do. So I really just can't wait to see him as a college prospect. I think that it's going to be interesting to see what the perception of his potential is coming out of college, because I do think he lacks that same kind of polish that we just saw from Jacoby in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
But he also represents, the archetype that every NBA team wants, and like that 6'8", 6'9", 240-pound swing defender that's a Swiss Army knife, right? So I just can't wait to hear what the dialogue is with Omaha throughout the course of the season.
Corey, I love that you brought up that little anecdote, because when we were there, that's when you and I were walking around trying to meet these prospects. We wanted to kind of connect, and we talked to Justin Edwards, McCain, all those guys.
Yep.
And we wanted to get to Omaha, but he was too busy grinding. He was too busy putting in work, had no time to talk to anybody, and was like, I'm just going to keep shooting, which makes me so wildly and rationally optimistic about his outlook, because we've
Yes.
seen the freaking dude work. Like, he had no interest, and I don't think he was being disrespectful in any way. He just was like, I'd rather just grind right now while everyone else is talking and shaking hands and making nice right now. I'm just going to keep shooting and working on my game. And I think that's the type of work ethic with him that's so terrifying. Also, as you mentioned, Corey, shouts to Bryce Simon. That piece that he wrote about, Omaha's journey was beautifully written, and also just an incredible story to read and to think about, how, the whole immigrant story and, making it in this country and stuff like that is something that, me as I can definitely relate to as well. And I was just like, damn, like, this guy's such a grinder, such an old school type of kid that it's hard to not fall in love. And obviously I got there later to Hoop Summit, but you guys were just absolutely raving about him. And then to see him and that work ethic, it's hard to not believe in him. Like, you're going to have to, because of how hard the kid works.
Yeah, I remember I went over to talk to a couple of people in the front office of a team, and they were like, "So who have you liked so far?" And I was like, "Omaha's my dude." Like this, for all those reasons, just the grinding, the potential he has physically. Like, you could just tell that any bit of potential that this kid has, he is going to get every last inch of it out of him. And I think that's important. The little anecdotes, like we saw him working hard at the Hoop Summit, the stuff that you hear from Bryce in that piece, like all of that stuff, again, like you, it gives me reason to believe that he is going to be a high level dude in this league. So we talked about him being like this awesome defensive prospect. Let's just get right into it, right? Break down why we're so into his game. And for me, I just think he has so many defensive tools. Like, talk about getting in a stance. Like, this dude is 6'9". Like, I don't know how much he weighs. He's got to be like 235, 240 already in high school, right? Just grown man. And he's down in that stance, right? And he's just so long and physical, and he's able to guard so many different positions. Here, he's going to be isolated on the perimeter versus a guard, and a really nifty shot creator in that. And even though he allows his top foot to get attacked, he's still able to recover and get an awesome contest on the ball. So it still ends up being a really solid defensive possession. And he's chasing him at the around screens at the beginning of the possession. Like, he rocks, man.
It's clear that Omaha does like yoga or something, because the kid has like great hip mobility. The fact that he's that big and can get that low in his stance, I think speaks a lot to that. And the fact that he can flip his hips and do all that stuff is incredible.
Mhm.
But Corey, I'm with you. The thing with him that it's just any play you watch, he wants it. He wants it so freaking bad. Like, who's that kid from Washington? Was it Mia? Was his name like Braxton Mia or something?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Right?
yeah.
I remember, wow, dude, I still have it vividly in my mind. He was trying to post up Omaha, and Omaha said, "Hell no!" Like, I don't give a shit what Raphael says about you. I'm gonna put the fucking clamps on you. Was what he did, and it was unbelievable to see because he was like, "Dude, you don't want it enough." Was essentially what he was saying. Like he dominated him so hard. It felt like he was telling him without actually saying anything to him, like, "You don't want it as much as I do. I want it way more." And you feel that in almost every defensive possession with him. Even in this clip you're playing right now, look how far outside he is guarding this guard, and he wants it so freaking bad. And not only does he want it, but he has all the tools to be that dude. Like he's so long, so strong, he can really move. It's just sometimes it's having the desire is great, but having the desire plus the tools is what makes you really terrifying.
Yeah, and you could tell how sped up the ball handler is on this possession. Like he literally
Terrified.
loses he loses his footing because he's just like, I have nowhere to go. And when you have John Bull backing you up on top of it, not really ideal.
Oh.
um Now, I mean, just all of the different aspects of his game here. Don't know why I went to an offensive clip. We're not ready to go to offense yet. Um, let's pull up another defensive clip
Sure.
here instead. Still from the FIBA tournament,
Yeah.
and I thought he wasn't his best self
Uh-huh.
during the FIBA tournament. I thought his defense was solid as usual, but I thought that USA team was just weird and
Weird.
ultimately struggled. But look at him on the point guard, down in his stance. Yeah, get out of here. Give me that. Like you got no chance here.
Yeah.
Like great, hats off to this kid
Yeah.
for testing him, but it just that kind of thing, it just won't go well. And again, that's Omaha in a nutshell. Like it's just not going to go well for you on that end if you test him because as you mentioned, like the kid is just all heart, he's all hustle, he's all just I want it. And like here, look at that. Look at that athleticism too. Like talking about this isn't even a chase down, right? He's on his heels. He's able to completely
Uh-huh.
turn and still recover and get enough of an athletic contest to swat it off the backboard. Like that is not easy. He doesn't have his whole momentum going forward, right? Like he is in recovery mode and there's like still not a chance that that thing is going in the hoop. Like I love this possession.
There's just this intensity and aggression to him on the defensive side of the ball that it's like that alpha that he has in him that's so infectious, dude. And like you feel it like whenever he plays, like it's not just him. Like I feel like he's playing at such a high level defensively that it rubs off on his teammates as well. And you just feel so good on the defensive side, knowing that he's there and he's doing all of that everywhere on the court. It's infectious. It's the only way I can put it. He's genuinely an infectious defender that's so scary and intimidating, and the way he just like taunts people as well, like it's great stuff. But along with that, Corey, everything that you said, right? The instincts, the know-how, the everything. He's fantastic. There's so much to love.
And he's the kind of guy that like it almost his strength and athleticism at times almost did him a disservice because like he played so much big,
Yeah. Yes.
you know,
Yes.
because he's so strong that it's like, all right, let's just have him play center. And like that, it almost like mischaracterized a lot of times what he is going to be so good at. Cause like, I think he is going to be a legitimate, like switch any position guy, not guard any position, but switch any position. Cause I think he is going to be able to switch onto guards. I think as he gets a little heavier and even stronger as a pro, I don't think, you want him switching on point guards all the time, but like that 2-3-4, I think he's going to have like on lock, and I would feel comfortable having him switch on to a stronger, 5 and then
Yeah.
even a quicker guard still.
Yeah.
But that versatility almost got masked sometimes because it was like, all right, let's play him as like more of a big. And I think his role is going to be wing, and defensively it didn't show nearly as much, even though he did check a lot of the bigger guys. But offensively, that's where I think like I consider him a wing and not like a big. Like I think he is a power wing.
Yeah. Yeah. But Corey, I will say, I also think it's to his advantage too, kind of because of what you said as well. Like now that versatility is just going to be in there. Like everyone's going to know, like in a pinch, he can guard a five. Like in a pinch, he's going to be able to body up and hold his own. And then also with everything that he's shown on the perimeter, oh, we know he can switch out onto a smaller guard and kind of hold his own and, lock things down. So he's an extremely versatile defender. Everyone should be excited about his outlook, especially on defense. And I know we're about to switch over to offense, and that's extremely exciting too. But I think it's important to know there's a reason why we started with his defense. He's terrifying on that side, and obviously in a good way. And I think it's only going to get better because he's going to keep getting stronger. He's going to keep working on the finer details of defense as well. It's like it's a classic thing where like you just have to believe in the guy that works his ass off. That usually pays
straight
off.
up. Yeah. Straight up, right? All right, so let's talk about the offense first. And I mean, we talked about him as an athlete and as a physical presence, so I just wanted to start it off with him just absolutely rocking the goddamn rim.
Good start. Good start.
Yeah. I think a lot of his finishes, especially in the EYBL, came off of like these set plays, a lot of hustle points, right? But they did a really good job of like getting him open down on the block. And he has such a quick and powerful first jump that you see like he looks like Shaq in Blue Chips, like he is just absolutely manhandling the basket. And you don't want to get in his way when he's up in the air like that.
He's scary. I don't know, man. I think it's great. I'm trying to like control how much I love him and how excited I am about his game. But really good role man. They put him in a lot of pick and roll stuff, and as a good role man, he was good. I thought really good on the offensive boards. A guy that really went after it and made the most of that, going up there and cleaning stuff up. What else? I did feel like at times when he would drive to the hoop that it was less beautiful. Sometimes it felt a little wild, a little bit of like either he didn't have a plan or that his plan was not very good. Was kind of how I felt at times with him driving to the rim. But just in terms of like the tenacity, the athleticism, as you mentioned, that first jump, speed, quickness, whatever, it's really great stuff. And if anything, with him still kind of growing into and blossoming into his wing skills, it just, it's exciting. Like there's a multifaceted aspect of his offensive game as well.
Yeah. And you kind of mentioned like the tenacity on the offensive glass. Like he's a winning play kind of guy.
Yes.
Right. Like so much of what he's going to do isn't even going to show up in the box score. Here it does. This is just, I want it more than you. I'm stronger than you. I'm more physical than you. And I'm going to turn this into 2 points when we desperately need it. Right. End of the third quarter, trying to go on a run to get you back in the game. Those are momentum building plays. And that energy, that effort, it's a skill. It's not something that we would highlight as this impressive thing if every prospect was doing it, right? But not every prospect does that. So that is most definitely a skill. So I think that ultimately what we're seeing him as a finisher, and what you talked about earlier, is like he's probably not going to be somebody who early on in his career is creating a ton of his own offense, right? Like it's cutting, getting offensive rebounds, running down the floor, rim running, down the pipe, being the first one down the court, capitalizing in transition. And that's where he's going to bread his butter early on in his career. And I like guys who have these narrow skill sets early on because it'll allow them to be efficient and stay on the floor and then be able to expand and work on their game because you know that you can trust them to do the other things that are going to be effective already. So, I love that he can just run down the floor and get you an easy basket. Right. But I think where you do see some of the like really impressive flashes where you're like, this is where I'm like, all right, I think he's got some wing skills. It's transition. The floor is a little bit more open. He's turning defense into offense here, right? Nifty spin move, nifty footwork, nifty left hand finish. You know, again, if you start seeing this in the half court, like everyone's in trouble. But that's a sick finish right there. Everything looked smooth. Nothing looked clunky. I love it.
There's a lot to like. Corey, his cutting is really good too. Like
Yeah.
I really like him as a cutter. I think he's really good about it. Good timing, good awareness, good speed to it. Just really emphatic kind of as a cutter, which I really enjoyed. But yeah, terror in transition. Like you get this guy running, watch out. Like you probably, want to make a business decision and get out of his way and don't jump with him because you're going to get hurt is the type of athlete that he is. And once again, like the overarching theme that we keep going back to is just he wants it more. He really, really wants it. And now in terms of the wing skill stuff that we're, eventually going to get to, I think not perfect, not all the way there yet, but encouraging signs. I thought there were some really encouraging signs. Like I think even handle wise, there were some possessions. I was like, oh, that's nice. Like there's some shake to that. There's, you actually creating space here and, trying some stuff out, which I didn't mind. A little bit of like shooting off the dribble even. I was like, go ahead. His shooting, though, I did have some questions that I wanted to ask you about. I think, Corey, what I wrote in my notes here with his shooting was, and obviously correct me if I'm wrong. I thought the base looked wide and good. I didn't mind the base too much, but I thought like there was like a really big dip on his shot when he was bringing the ball up. And I thought at times there was a little bit of an elbow flare. Which I thought, kind of led to some inconsistent misses. But shot doctor, go ahead. Let us know where I was wrong.
No, I think you are right about
Okay.
the dip. I
Especially
didn't
catch.
Yeah, I didn't notice the elbow flare too much. I think that his form is pretty solid.
Yeah.
I think at times his touch isn't as solid. Like he'll have some, rough misses. I think eliminating that dip maybe would help with that. Because I think his big problem is like his shot, there's too many motions going on. I don't know. Like the form is good and every aspect is good, but you could see all of the aspects transpiring like step by step, like bring the ball down, bend my knees, shoot the ball, release, follow through. Like you could, it's not just this one fluid, beautiful thing. It's like a process. And that means he's working on it.
Yeah.
But he's still in these clips, he's still in like overthink mode. But what did we go back to when we saw him at the Nike Hoop Summit? He was practicing jump shots for an hour after the scrimmage, right? Like this is not something that he doesn't know is not a strength. Like he knows it's not a strength of his game. He knows he wants to get better at it, right? So while he does have, sometimes clunky misses and whatnot, it's not as if he's not working. It's not as if this isn't an area of a game that I buy. Like I buy kind of like the OG Anunoby aspect where like I think he's going to get there as a shooter. He certainly wasn't known as a shooter coming out of college, right? And then, now he's knocking down game-winning shots in playoff series at times, right? So like I think that's the kind of player that you want Omaha to develop into, potentially, where a guy maybe is a defensive player of the year candidate, but he can knock down open shots and then hopefully create his own offense a little bit at times too.
Corey, there were some ugly misses, but also some really pretty makes. And I think that's a good sign with everything that we know, right? Which also kind of goes back to the whole point of like, if you're a scout, you should get out there and really try to see these guys in person as much as possible, because there's a level of commitment and off the court stuff that you just don't see unless you're there. Which is, why I'm so glad we went to the Nike Hoop Summit. But I'm with you, Corey. Like the shooting with him, although I picked out some things that I think he needs to work on, overall, I'm still excited about it. Like that's just kind of where I'm at with his whole game. I think every aspect of his game will be good to great because he's going to fix it. Like he's going to will himself to greatness is how I feel, which is why, like, Corey, over the course of this pod, I feel like I'm talking myself into taking him number one in this draft. Cause like, why not? Like wherever he is right now in his development, just wait 5 to 10 years. He's going to be filthy. is kind of how I feel because of how hard he's working and all this stuff. But yeah, just going back to the shooting, I feel okay about it. I feel totally confident that he's going to get better. He even hit some shots off the dribble that I thought like, oh wait, why does his off the dribble jumper look more smooth than his catch and shoot jumper? At times it was weird, and yeah, I'm excited.
There's definitely a chance that he has that Patrick Williams ascension in the pre-draft process because he's going to wow teams in the pre-draft process.
Oh,
like
yeah.
they're going to see him physically. He's going to knock down shots in the gym. He's going to be, I wouldn't be surprised if he was competing against prospects like in the workouts. Right. And he might be the guy that everyone's like, wait, why are we not taking a 6'9" dude who's crazy physical, is a little raw, but has all of these tools that he's a ball of clay that we need to mold? Like, yes, let's take him at number 4 in the draft, please. Let's take him 3rd in this draft. What? It's an up in the air draft. There's no true standouts. Like, yeah, let's take the wing, right? Like, I could totally see that happening with Omaha, and I would be for it because I think the kid has a chance to be an impact player in the league. I'm not saying I think he has a chance to be an all NBA guy, but who knows? Maybe he can get there. Maybe he's that psychotic of a worker, right? Like I would love to talk to him and try to figure that out for myself. But from what we saw, like the work ethic's there and all of the tools are there. I think there's a great shot off the dribble, right? Maybe not a ton of pressure. You're up by 20 points on a team, so you could start experimenting with your game a little bit. Off the dribble bounce though, set him up. Knockdown.
Corey, I'm going to do some fortune telling. He's going to be at the Blazers facility for a pre-draft workout. He's going to be going against Matas Buzelis, just ripping him to shreds. And then he's going to be like, where's Jeremy Grant at? I want some of him too. It's what I think he's going to be doing. Mike Schmitz is going to fall all over himself, fall in love, and he's going to go really high in the draft. Is what I think. Like, it's going to happen. He's going to, as you said, Corey, he's going to demolish some kids in pre-draft workouts, and coaches are going to fall in love. We still have old school coaches and be like, look at this kid. Look how much he cares. All that stuff's going to be in play, and I think he's going to have an awesome. I think he's going to have a great season in Iowa. Great pre-draft process. I think he's going to go really high in the draft. There's so much to love.
Yeah. Even here, like, he misses here, broken play, right? Mm-hmm. But, it's early in the game. Let's create between the legs, smooth. Yeah. Not like a terrible miss.
At least he's taking him.
Yeah. Like I'm with it. Take those, man. Because that's what I want to see.
Right.
Right. And that stuff looks pretty polished. Let's see him try to create, get to the rim a little bit, stuff like that. But if he can just do some of this stuff from the perimeter and be effective inside doing what he does, like there's a lot of potential there. Now let's talk about, what'd you think of the passing?
Oh. I was almost like, let's avoid that part. No, the passing I thought was, okay, let me tell you exactly what I wrote in my notes here. I wrote, passing, nothing to write home about, which is okay. Right? Like, we're not looking for, the next Michael Jordan or LeBron James. He's not going to be a perfect player. I thought, at times, there are some flashes of him being like a nice connector, moving the ball, blah, blah, blah. I didn't think it was a huge part of his scouting report is kind of the best way to put it, in my opinion. I thought, if you have some flashes and you have some not so goods, then don't write it in pen. Don't write it in permanent marker. I think it just wasn't a major part of his game. Is what I thought. Yeah,
I think that's completely accurate. But I did think he has like good feel.
Mm-hmm.
Like some of his reads were like, the placement was really nice. Like I think this possession here, like he makes a quick 0.5 decision, right? Like he is not going to be a creator by any stretch. Like, or maybe he is, I don't know, but I wouldn't project him to do it based on what we've seen on the film.
Right.
But I do think that he's capable of making quick decisions, and against the zone, they put him at the nail a lot of times. Like, look, this is what you're supposed to do against the zone. Like if you're in that position, you're supposed to keep that ball swinging quick so the defense can't rotate over, to your shooters or the guys diving behind the zone. And, he does a good job. He's talking, he's communicating, he's telling people where to go, right? You love seeing that. And then the ball's here, knows where to put it.
Bang.
Knockdown. But then he would do some stuff like this, which again, like he's stationary. He's not like doing it off live dribble passing. It's not super flashy stuff, but he is not going to be that high usage guy, especially as a freshman, right? Like that's stuff he's going to, if he ever gets there, that's like year 4 or 5 in the NBA. Like we're so far away. But this is a read,
Mhm.
right? And we go back to our guy Cam Carr. He can come off that screen for the three, or he can, dive to the rim, and that's a good read with good placement and good timing to his cutter from Omaha here. So like, it's not as if like he knows his options, but that's not necessarily set for him to cut. Like that's something that Cameron Carr has to read, and I thought he made a really nice read here. So like, I like the feel that he has, and that's all I need to see from him. I don't need to see him initiating ball screens. I would love to if that was the case, and you're talking about a potential number one pick. But where he's at right now, I just want to see like the raw potential to like make some nice connective passes, and I think he's there.
Yeah, I think the most important thing is we neither one of us walked away thinking he was a black hole. He was a guy that was willing to move the ball, willing to make these types of reads. Um, yeah, as long as he's not a detriment in terms of that part of his scouting report, I think we're both good. And he wasn't. And if anything, he showed some nice flashes, as you mentioned, Corey. That last play he showed really nice timing, placement, anticipation, all that stuff is good.